on in the top left corner on Circuit Breaker. He was the #1 player on the ladder when we set the timer to or when we freeze the time. I think he's #2 now, and he's the Red Bandit in red.
Well, his opponent was #2 when we freeze the time, so he had to play the earlier best of 3, but he is #1 currently on NA ladder. His name is rsvp, spawning as Teal Protoss.
He's not just #1 in NA, he's #1 overall as well in statistics. Very interesting. It's always, of course, also very interesting to see players go to ladder that we know are really good and see how well they're doing. Like Axiom Crank was playing ladder a while back, and he's like 18-2, and one of those 2 losses was a bug, so he's really just 18-1. We'll get that bug fixed right away for Mr. Crank. We have a really early gas from the Red Bandit versus Protoss, and he's putting 1 in it. Care to try and analyze the situation?
Well, okay, getting a second one right now, it makes a little more sense. He's just trying to get enough gas to just, when the spawning pool finishes, he just wants to speed, and he wants to pull the drones away from the geyser. So he's going to try to harass his opponent with early speed links while taking an expansion right after this. However, it's been completely scouted by rsvp, especially with the probe inside the main base, so he should be completely fine against this early aggression.
I guess we should also talk a little bit about starting positions on this map, because this map is not... It is symmetrical, but it's what's called rectangular symmetrical, which means that it is different for different spawn points. North and south is different from east and west, and north and south spawn point is the one with the closest rush distance on this map, and one of the closest rush distances on any map, if you count natural to natural, that we have in Starbow. I was surprised at how short this is. So for Zerg to do something early harassing now is going to come very early. But still not early enough. The cannon is already up.
Yeah, the cannon is already up. That's up to 6 Zerglings, however, so he needs to watch out. He needs to get some units to cover it, because I don't think 1 cannon can actually kill up to 6 Zerglings. In fact, back in Brood War, the rule of thumb was that if there's up to about 4 Zerglings, 1 cannon is sufficient. But if there's up to 6, then he needs more, and there we go. He's gonna block with a pylon. Little trick in StarCraft 2, every single building is tight, so you can do stuff like this. So I forgot about that. My mistake.
That is an easy thing to forget too, because you're seeing all these Brood War strats, and then all of a sudden something from StarCraft 2 pops out and it throws you off guard. Believe me, I know. Like
Forge below gateway, always. That's always tight.
Yes, in Brood War. And it's of course it's always tight in StarCraft 2 too, but so is Forge above gateway.
It's tight everywhere, bro.
It is. It's super tight. So again, shout out to the map maker. I like to shout out to map makers here. This was Mirel who did this map, and Mirel is one of the most accomplished map makers in StarCraft 2 ever that is not hired by Blizzard. So yeah, shout outs to him.
Well, then he is probably the most successful map maker then, if he's not in Blizzard.
Well, I was just saying not hired since I didn't want to use the word professional, but you get the feel. And rsvp gonna hide a probe. And now in StarCraft 2 you'd say, oh, he's gonna go for some warp gate, but then might not happen here because warp gate doesn't come until temp, and no, it's not gonna happen at all.
Aww.
Poor drone.
Cute.
Looking at the APM of these 2 players, they're both about the same, averaging about 130. It's probably gonna slowly rise as the game progresses and they have more stuff to do.
And also, just going back to the map itself, the feature of this map is that there is a main base that is natural, and the dirt base is really close to your main natural, just like Fighting Spirit, but there's no gas. That is one feature of this map. If you want the gas expansion, you need to move out on the map and take the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or expand to the other main base.
A lot of Zerglings incoming now. They've seen the Zealots. rsvp has been forcing out all these Zerglings. He's gonna try and do some damage. Probably gonna rift the units back home once it's in an unfavorable position, which is at the moment. No, he might be able to. It's quite equal right now. But now he's down to 2 Zealots, and rsvp is down to, I mean, the Red Bandit actually just cleans it up. That did very little except forcing Zerglings.
And even forcing Zerglings, losing that many Zealots to only a few of the Zerglings over there, not so great trade for RSVP. But you also have to say Red Bandit kind of saw coming after seeing the second gateway at the natural. This harassment with the Zerglings is certainly not going to work out. But it also puts RSVP slightly behind in the game with the Red Bandit now going for Hydralisks.
I agree, and this Hydra pressure is going to be very scary. We have the third base up, which is a mineral only, which is perfect for Hydra pressure. You don't need that much gas to make Hydralisks. Oh, in fact, he's not even taking his natural gas. And as soon as the Hydra speed is out, he has a nice economy to churn out quite a bit of Hydralisks. As long as he doesn't get himself supply blocked, that Hydra force can be hard to deal with.
You know, I feel really stupid right now because I should have actually left the camera on my. I should just control my own camera to see what the Red Bandit is doing. No layer going down, just having the Hydra stand. What is it? It's gonna be the Shine Play. Just gonna cheese your opponent and try to break the natural as soon as possible. I should have seen this coming.
Yeah, probably me as well. And he's getting a macro hatch as well in his third base, which I like. A few people are in Starbow IC are actually using their macro hatches defensively to make walls and sim cities, which is a nice technique from Brood War. And he's gonna save 3 zealots there, but he sees all the Hydras now. How many additional cannons will he add? At the moment, none. Okay, there we go. He's getting one more up. He's gonna lose these frontal gateways, I think. At least the gateway and the forge, and he's trying to get the zealots out so they can surround instead of being locked behind, but he's a little bit indecisive, and he goes back and hides in his natural, which I completely understand. Oh, and the Red Bandit just going for it. Chrono boost on the cannons, he does know about that. He just hasn't used it yet, and forcing out those chrono boosts makes the cannon shoot 50% faster for a short period of time.
Getting a Dark Templar is really nice, knowing that that's the only unit that he can try to squeeze out before the Hydras burst down. The gateway is at the front, but I have to say RSVP he saw coming, but he only put down one cannon, thinking that, you know what, I'm going to have to +1 really soon. I have the speed on my Zealots, so I'm going to be fine. But the problem is he can't actually move out with the Zealots, and if he wants to move out, all the Red Bandit has to do is micro back with his Hydralisks.
He's waiting for the range now, so then after the range is up, he can start to chip away at the buildings. Also, Chrono Boost on the Photon Cannons increases their range by 1 as well. He's trying to snipe the cannons now. He has the range, so he has more DPS without having to move too close. The Dark Templar is here, but so is the Overseer. He's going to try and sneak the Dark Templar out, and he does successfully do so, and that could prove detrimental if he can keep himself in the game long enough, because these Dark Templars, unless there's... No, he's getting an Overseer at his natural is very wise.
He knows. There's no reason for the Red Bandit to pull his Hydras back to the natural and the third base, unless he knows that something is actually going around into the main base. And he saw the DT coming out as soon as possible. If he didn't see the DT, then he would be destroying the natural right now and taking out the natural Nexus instead of coming back to defend.
But you know what, though? That Dark Templar has done his job, because that Dark Templar effectively got the push back again. So now RSVP can breathe for a little bit. They are coming back again, but now he has an Archon. The Archons are actually not that good versus
he needs
Hydras.
Storms. The Storm research is finished, but he doesn't have enough. Does he have enough energy? No, he still needs 10 more energy. And attacking out too much with this, I'm not too sure if I agree with this. Yes, he's getting a few Hydras here and there, but he's just gonna get kited back. So all he has to do is just wait near the cannons. Well, he doesn't have any cannons, so all he needs to do is buy enough time. Perfect storms on the Hydras, but is that gonna be enough? His Zealots are also getting stormed over there. The Archons are not doing anything at this point, and the Red Bandit, if he just micros carefully, he can take out the Zealots easily.
Yeah, but he had so few Hydras at the end there, so he just did not... what I was gonna say. He just didn't have the force to deal with this, and now the Dark Templar is back there looking for some drones to kill, and there are no drones there, so he goes and hides in the shadows. Which I think is wise, because exposing him by just attacking the hatchery will probably just get him killed, so I like that decision of just hiding him for later. And now he can move out. He has 1 storm, and
he
not a lot of Hydras.
He does have 1 storm, but the +1 is finished now, so he can chip away on the Hydras. And if you have been actually following what the Red Bandit has been doing, after the attack work, after putting a nice pressure against RSVP and getting a lot of Zealots, he never teched. Which means that he's only going to be stuck on Hydras. And now with the RSVP moving out on the map, taking a third base, which means that he successfully defended against the attack, with the Red Bandit with the Red Bandit staying on pure Hydras, this is not going to work out against rsvp, who's getting a lot of zealots, who already has 3 high templates for 3 storms or even more than that. So the Red Bandit, I don't think he's in a great position once the storms hit. That I don't know if he can actually survive in this game.
And the Dark Templar in the meantime getting some drone kills as well. rsvp doing everything right, and like you said, the Red Bandit is just gonna have to make Hydras work, and the tech and the army for rsvp will just get higher and higher. And also +2 almost done as well.
Oh, you don't want to cross the bridge because the storm is going to get every single Hydras over there. He does dodge at the last second. However, you can see how deadly this double bridge is on Circuit Breaker.
Definitely, and that was some well-positioned storm from rsvp. The Red Bandit doing the best he could and not retreating but going forward instead. I think that was actually risky, but the best situation given his current situation, which is a horrible use of words for me, but whatever. So right now we are stabilizing a little bit. The Red Bandit really doesn't want to stabilize though, he just wants to win, and that's what he's going to try and do right now with this group of Hydras. I don't see this working, but it's probably what he has to do. He's catching a High Templar off position, that's always a nice win. He wants to try and snipe the Archon side of position too, but that's going to be a little bit more difficult.
I mean, here's the problem. Because the Red Bandit just decides to stick with pure Hydras, he doesn't have any upgrades on the Hydras, while the Protoss army right now is +2. He doesn't have Lair, so he can't tech switch, so he's only stuck on these Hydras and possibly some Zerglings, which is not great against some charge loss mixed with High Templars.
Yeah, I see this. We finally have a Lair incoming now, so he's gonna try and get this game into a later mid-game. Like, of course, it's been a mid-game for a while, but it feels like it's only been early game because of the tech choice of the Red Bandit. But he's gonna be in the same amount of bases as rsvp, which is never a good situation.
Which is never good, especially if you're down to only 29 drones compared to 37 probes of rsvp.
True. Oh, he's gonna try and snipe this Nexus. It's always so tempting to do so, but it's always so risky as well because you're gonna get yourself caught. And he's in a very unfavorable position. That storm is beautiful.
So perfect, gonna force the Red Bandit out of there. And look at this, inside the main base rsvp, he has plenty of gateways to defend against the Hydras. And his tech composition, the Zealots aren't as good. I mean, getting Dragoons might be a lot better, but the Storms are doing its job right now. That Storm's gonna whip a little bit, but it does scare away the Red Bandit. And behind all this, he has 3 Zealot and 1 DT drop into the main base.
Yeah, or maybe the natural, but yeah, it might just be the main base. So he's coming in there, he's chasing away the Hydralisks. There's too few Hydralisks now, too many speed lots. He's trying to micro the best as he can, but while he's microing this, and Protoss doesn't really have to micro that, Protoss can focus on getting these out. And if he can snipe the Lurker, then that is probably that's gonna be a huge setback for the Red Bandit.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's even focusing on the Lurker then. He's just going for the drones inside the main base, just putting him far beyond the economy. There goes the Queen, there goes the Hydras. And yes, the Red Bandit is doing a nice job by making the correct tech choice because rsvp has so many Zealots. But I don't think he's going to have enough units to defend against this attack that rsvp has right now.
And I really like, you know, Protoss is one of those races, you can just make a lot of units and go kill your opponent, but you can also be very technical and smart with Protoss, and we saw that when Bisu played Brood War, like how he made everything so technical and interesting. And I feel rsvp is doing the same thing, and there we have it, GG, just overwhelming him in numbers and correct choice.